It's another day to be a enthusiast in the gamer world, and it's yet another day in the gamer world where a publisher has decided to just go ahead and close some of their studios for really no exact reason to the outsider's perspective. And those victims today were Arkane Austin and Roundhouse Studios and Alpha Dog Games, which are a couple support studios, and then Tango Gameworks. And to give you a little history, Tango Gameworks, a very healthy portfolio and a pretty new studio developing the Evil Within series, Ghostwire Tokyo, and now Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush, one of the games that was, from what I've heard from a lot of people, the freshest, most interesting, and great new IP and new game to really come out of this generation so far. And we have these decision makers closing their studio? What? The nerve. And then you have Arkane Austin, who Arkane Austin, again, has a very healthy and fantastic portfolio of games, which, Dark Messiah, Might and Magic, that's a super sick game. The Dishonored series, Prey 2017, which was such a good game. Deathloop, which I played and was actually pretty good, all things considered. And a fumble with Redfall, of course. And the most heartbreaking part about that is that you have, one studio again who develops this fantastic new idea, and the other studio which fumbles on their latest game. And from all of our understanding, not because the developers made the decisions around what game they were going to produce or, the ideas and concepts that were going to be laid into it. And so, these folks were really building these games and driving themselves towards a cliff because their publisher and the demands of them were saying, you got to produce this. And then when it came out, they said, well, sorry, you produced this, and now we have to close your studio. And I know there was some overlap in there in terms of the Bethesda sale and Microsoft and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, Microsoft's decision to close these studios really comes from the fact that they've said, we want to focus on the blockbuster franchises that Bethesda owns, right? And so the first thing that I think about is Microsoft is saying, we want to take all of our resources and we want to focus on making the next Fallout sequel and the next Elder Scrolls sequel, and we don't care about anything else, and we don't care about any other ideas. You can throw those in the garbage, And I find that to be really insulting and frustrating because Tango Gameworks had just created a fantastic new title, and Arkane Austin has a very fantastic and healthy portfolio of games that really show and prove that as a studio, they can create something new and interesting. Now, the unfortunate part of that is a couple things, right? This new Fallout show came out. It's super successful, and so Bethesda is out there rushing to find a way to give people access to playing the old Fallout games, and now I'm sure are running towards the finish line to get a new one out to heighten that popularity. And then, of course, they announced, Elder Scrolls 6, 42 years ago. And I'm not against that, right? Because I have 1,000 gamer score and platinum trophies on basically all of the Bethesda titles of the last few generations. I own like 6 copies of Skyrim, like 4 copies of freaking Oblivion, and I love those games, and I grew up with those games, and I really enjoy those games. And I'll say New Vegas is my favorite Fallout, and that's an Obsidian title, so take that with a grain of salt. But similarly, I love the Fallout series too, and I want those games. But why does that mean that we can't get something new and interesting from other developers? Why does it mean that we have to shut down their studios, limit their creative ability, set them up as support houses for Todd Howard and his team to again fumble across the finish line a new product that they haven't really thought through, right? Which is what happened with Starfield, and it's so frustrating because every time from a business decision making lens, we look at the bottom line, right? The dollars, the money, what's selling and what's making us cash. They see these big franchises and they say, oh, it's really safe for us to move ahead with a sequel because we know it's going to sell pretty well. Well, I got news for you guys. Go back many years and Fortnite was an idea. Fortnite didn't have a prequel that was super fantastic, and people said, well, we need to make the Fortnite sequel game. No, it was just an idea that was being developed, and because they took the time to develop that idea and make it fantastic, it bloomed and blossomed into this huge IP. This huge IP that, for all intents and purposes, definitely made its money back, right? I don't think anyone would ever debate that fact. And so when you invest, say, $100 million towards producing one game, and you've thrown all your bets on this game to succeed, well, what if it fails? What if you release this live service and then all of a sudden there's 20 players playing it the next month? Oh, yeah, that unfortunately happens all the time. But, I'm going to blow your mind with an idea. Take that $100 million, split it across 10 teams, develop 10 new ideas. Oh, well, then you might end up with the next Fortnite, right? Because you're giving people the opportunity to take their creative skills, not go back and copy paste the format from a world and an idea that's already been built so that you can safely collect some cash. Make all the money, and make all the money by taking risks and making something new and interesting. And so from the business lens, this is absolutely a terrible idea. From my perspective as a gamer, this is terrible because Microsoft hasn't put out a generation-defining exclusive that anyone can bank on and be interested in. I mean, even the most recent Halo game was just a complete flop. It's a flop. And you're taking some of your best acquired studios with some very interesting IP that could develop new ideas, and you're closing them? Are you serious? It's just ridiculous. It really is just so ridiculous. I can't believe it. And so, I'm upset about that because I really love all the games developed by Tango Gameworks, and it was sad to see that Shinji Mikami left, and that probably put a bit of damper on their ability to, say, do The Evil Within 3 or to continue forward as a studio. I don't know. They did pretty well with Hi-Fi Rush. So, and similarly, I did like Arkane Austin's output. I had not played Redfall, but everything up to that point, very much enjoyed. So, yeah, frustrating. All I can really say is rest in peace to all of these studios. And I hope that, earlier in the year, Microsoft had done some layoffs in kind of their game studios space. And I hope this isn't a continuation of that fact. I hope that all the developers and the people working for these studios will still have an opportunity to, join the Bethesda teams and work on games. So it's just pretty tragic. And it's just another, I think, misstep in Microsoft's latest generation of consoles. I think they've just done not a very good job of supporting the creative output of gaming. They're approaching this way too much like a business. And unfortunately for them, video games are a form of art. They require a little flexibility in terms of what you do with your money. And, if you just look at it from the bottom line of your dollars, you're going to end up like Square Enix, where a Square Enix game is not successful unless somebody buys it, they love it, so they buy another copy and they give it to their friend, and their friend buys 4 copies. Like these unrealistic expectations you're bringing onto your developers, and it's causing people to make mistakes, bad business decisions. It's just something that I wish these studios would get away from and give the opportunity for their developers to really have some creative input and create the things they want. We could go back easily to an era like the PlayStation 2, where, yeah, you had these small houses developing, 6-7 hour, very interesting, sometimes weird, sometimes crazy concepts. And a lot of the titles that came out of those generations are predecessors for the biggest franchises that we know today. And if we are not giving developers the opportunity to, really flex that creativity, then you'll never have the next big franchise. And so yeah, it even puts a damper on my excitement for Fallout or Elder Scrolls games, because I know that those games had to be developed by likely ruining people's careers and their jobs and so on and so forth. So super disappointing. All right, anyways, those are my opinions. Super frustrated. I don't know how you feel. I'd love to know if you kind of share that with me. But that's just the feelings I wanted to share. And hope you all have a good day. Peace.